Good morning. It's great to be here. I've done many conferences, but I'm excited. This is my very first NEM, so it's great to be here and part of the NEM family. So thank you for having us. I'm going to have a chat to Alex in just a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to give a couple of little plugs to give you a little bit of background about where I come from. First of all, the most important thing to know about me is I like drinking cups of tea. That's going to be an emerging theme. And I have a podcast you can subscribe to if you like called Time for Tea, where we talk about lots of things to do with live production. My history, I spent 22 years working for a service provider, BT in the UK. I then was persuaded to jump to the dark side of Vendorland in 2010 and joined Nevion, which then became part of Sony. And then 2 years ago, I joined Appear, where I'm CTO and I head up technology decisions in infrastructure. One of my other big passions in life is standards and international bodies that try and help the industry to work together in delivering live content. And 4 of the bodies that I'm significantly involved in are listed there below. Just 30 seconds on what Appear is doing. We are currently the rising provider of infrastructure for live content production. So we've been massively successful in many parts of the world, especially in the last couple of years in the US. So most of the main content providers use our infrastructure to actually enable them to produce live content. So that's who we are. That's what we do. I'm around for the rest of the day, as is Jean and a couple of my colleagues. So if you'd like to speak to us, we'd love to catch up with you afterwards. But that's it for me and what I'm doing. I'm going to come and sit down now and join Alex, and we're going to talk a little bit about his experience of producing live. So, Alex, great to see you.
Yeah,
Welcome on stage. Welcome on stage.
nice to be here.
So I've got a couple of really important questions to ask you before we dive into the depths here. First of all, are you a tea or a coffee man?
Working at Eurovision, I'm probably an espresso macchiato
Okay.
fan.
Never mind. This is good. The other important question. My answer is salted caramel. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Actually, I had another answer, but I will join you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 salted
Yeah,
caramels. We'll do that afterwards somewhere. I'm sure there's somewhere that serves ice cream. So I guess one question I've got for you at the head of this conversation is, what do you see as the big changes in live from your perspective and what you do? But first, before we do that, dive into what your specific role is and what Eurovision services actually provide.
Okay, so Eurovision Services is a company that was part of EBU. Now it's a private company. We basically do contribution and distribution of live content, normally sport events. And the tendency that we see nowadays is that there is more content available for distribution. It means there is more personalization in terms of graphics, audio commentary, advertisement as well. So that means that at the end, the volume of feeds that needs to be distributed is growing.
Yeah. And your specific role is on a day-to-day basis?
I'm in charge of the operations. That means looking after the MCRs, the operating the teleports. We are doing all the contribution from venues. We work for European Federations of Football. We do NBA. We do PGA. We do global sports distribution.
Cool. And in terms of those trends you started to talk about then, the way people are producing live content is evolving. Do you want to talk about some of those changing models, more of the remoting and stuff, and how that's impacting what you're needing to do?
Yes. For example, we have seen in the last Euro, there is a tendency of having, in the past, there was this big IBC where all the broadcasters will be present. Nowadays, it's coming a model where there is this concept of remote IBC where broadcasters don't need to be on site, so we have to distribute the content for them. That means that they have the same sources available at their premises, like if they were on site, right? So this is a changing model, and then of course they are able to produce more content regionalized, following specific players, or having their own advertisement on the feeds.
And what does that change in the way of working mean in terms of what you have to provide?
That means more connectivity, more transport of the feeds from these remote IBCs to the broadcasters, basically.
Okay. Now, I think traditionally, what I associate with what a lot of Eurovision services have been doing previously is a lot of satellite-based infrastructure.
Yes.
Is that still the majority of what you do, or is that evolving?
That's evolving. Of course, yes, we have a big legacy of satellite distribution, and we have been doing it for, with EBU almost 70 years ago. And yes, there was a lot of satellite, but we are evolving to video over IP. We are evolving to SRT as well. We have what we call Content Hub. It's a network that distributes content in 5 POPs all over the world. We have Frankfurt, London, Paris, New York, and Washington, where we can deliver transport stream over IP directly to broadcasters.
Yeah. Now, in a minute, we're going to start talking about the content that we're covering. But one more kind of technical question. There's this big push a couple of years ago for everything to be UHD, for the user experience. Is that perpetuating? Is that something you're still seeing? What's the demand for the way content's created at the moment for live events?
Yes. So like 3 years ago, we saw a big push to UHD. But then there was this personalization, and that was making really difficult to do the transport. So what we have seen in the main federations is that they have scaled down to 1080 50p, like a mezzanine format. So the broadcasters can adapt, because not all the broadcasters are ready to broadcast UHD. There are some that still they need 50i. So 50p, hopefully with HDR, is the mezzanine format that allows enables all the broadcasters to distribute the content.
Okay. I promise we weren't going to get technical. That's as far as we're going to go. Okay. In terms of technical depth. So the biggest challenge, what's the biggest challenge you see for your specific part of the industry moving forwards?
Okay, so as I said, that there is still a big legacy of satellite distribution, and the satellite landscape is changing a bit, because in some regions, as I said, we do global distribution, so we distribute over Americas and over Asia, of course, over Europe. But in America and Asia, they use the C-band. I will not go in a lot of details, technical details, but it's a frequency that it's affected by the 5G interference. That means that the satellite capacity is being reduced. There is less and less satellite capacity on those regions. And then there are new models like fiber distribution and SRT through public internet that are gaining terrain to this.
Yes. Cool. Okay, finally, what's a compelling reason why content producers are looking to you guys to actually provide services? Give us one compelling reason.
Well, I will say it's our track record. We have been doing this for long. We like to provide service to the broadcasters rather than just a commodity, let's say. We take the content from the origin up to the final broadcaster, and we support. Also, we have, because of the legacy with EBU, we have a big amount of broadcasters connected to our network. We have a huge network over Europe, but also in Japan, South America, and really all around the world. So I think this is this expertise that provides us value.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like you to join me in welcoming to the stage Kenechi, Aleksandra, and Victoria. Please come and join us.
Kenechi,
One observation as we come to talk about content, and specifically very much content for live. I think Sunday evening. I don't know if you were caught in the tennis. I actually tried to get hold of Jean, my colleague, and he basically messaged to say, "Don't call me now. You need to wait till the tennis is finished before we have a conversation." And it was just those 5.5 hours of that final, the tennis final, was such a compelling watch. And I think that is a very, very recent, in the last 48 hours, example of the compelling nature of live is something that I found amazing. And I think there was a quote from one of the comments. It's something like, "Sport is the ultimate reality TV." And I think when you're in the moment, I think that's absolutely true. One other observation, when I was doing some research for another event a few weeks ago, the total global media sports rights this year are estimated to be over $60 billion. And I think in terms of the value of live, in terms of media rights, that just gives some idea of the order of magnitude. Okay, well, we have the complete panel on stage. It's very great to have you all here. So I think we're going to start with the really, really important bit. So what I'd like to ask you, each of you, is to introduce yourselves, and you have to answer the tea or coffee question and the favorite ice cream question, as well as telling us what you do in your day job and what your company does. So we'll start with you, Kenechi.
Okay. Straightforward tea.
Tea.
And,
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I love vanilla ice cream. It's the only thing I eat. Kenechi Belusevic. Nice to see everyone here. Thanks for taking the time out. I'm from Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm the VP and the head of distribution and business development across several territories, including CE and some of the exciting territories that we'll be launching across the Baltics, and CIS have a very wide region. So this is a very interesting topic and how we engage with live. So thanks everyone for being here.
Wonderful. Okay, Aleksandra.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having me today. Well, tea person and pistachio flavor.
Oh.
Yes, I'm director of Multimedia division at Telekom Serbia. As you probably know, we are the leading telco operator in this part of Europe. But in the last 6 years, we passed through significant transformation from a traditional telco operator to the leader in producing of content and distributing the content. And definitely the sports content and having rights for the sports content is something that helped us to become the leaders in this segment.
Wonderful. Thank you. Victoria.
Yeah, I'm Victoria Davies. I'm definitely a coffee person, 100% British by birth, absolutely not tea.
It's 2-3. It's 2-3 on safe.
But pistachio, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I am the managing director of Accelerate Consulting, and I partner with telcos, broadcasters and streamers on the transformation of their business across Central and Eastern Europe, which is obviously largely related to digital transformation, and it's about accelerating their results. And of course, that relates a lot to content, live content, also on the infrastructure side, what's needed to deliver that. So I think it's a fantastic topic to discuss.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, what a great team we've got here on stage. So, I mean, one observation I've got at the head here is TV has changed beyond all recognition in the 90-something years that TV's been happening. I still remember growing up and we had 3 channels. I remember when the 4th and the 5th channel, linear channel in the UK started, and that was literally it. So that's such a different experience. And the way we produce TV has changed and the way we consume TV has changed. Hence this discussion where we're talking about free-to-air versus pay TV versus streamers. So I guess one of the immediate questions was with the companies represented is which of those flavors, to keep the theme going, which of those flavors do you do? So Warner Brothers Discovery, Kenechi, talk to us. What are you doing within those areas?
Yeah, I think the introduction you started with about, the 5 hours and 39 minutes tennis match is the perfect description of how we are taking advantage of these different platforms across sports. So Warner Brothers Discovery, we're actually the one in all the game. We're in free to air with sports. We're on pay TV with sports, and we're on streaming with sports as well. Eurosport is a brand across these regions and it's been around for quite a while. And we actually do not see the versus across the street. I think we're really privileged to be able, because it for us is really about the ecosystem, is one more delivery point. And having to have assets that is complementary across different platforms and making sure that audiences, whatever platform they are choosing, they are getting the best experience there. So we've had really a lot of experience. Like last year when we launched HBO Max in this region, a month later we followed up. It was really great for us. The Olympics came up and we put Olympics on our streaming platform, and we did not have a single second of glitches. So it was the perfect run on that. We also have free-to-air partners that we had to partner with across several assets, and we also have Eurosport channels for those that prefer to play on linear. So I think that we're just following the money wherever it is, because all these platforms have different engagements. And for us, that's just what it's mean about the assets you have. How do you make the best out of it on the different platforms that exist, whether it's free to air, whether it's pay TV, whether it's HBO Max. But for the match yesterday, HBO Max won it for me because I had to land, still watch the game. I don't know why the hotel doesn't have Eurosport anymore. Maybe they're not paying. But I thought, yes, I had to follow it on HBO Max, and I had to go on dinner. So I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that. Probably skip the dinner because it was quite a match. So yeah, for us, we're really privileged to be across several platforms, and we're pushing, of course, our streaming. We have our athlete partners that broadcast Eurosport as well. And we also deliver some of our premium games on Eurosport 4K. So Roland Garros was also on Eurosport 4K if you want that beautiful vision on your 50-foot screen. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Aleksandra, we've been thinking a bit about on demand and live, very specifically, what the side that Alex and I sit on is enabling the live side of this. In your role and within your organization, you're in a kind of a unique position in terms of both the on demand and live and having the service provider perspective as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that enables you to do?
Yes. Well, that is definitely our advantage, that we are making some kind of bridge combination or synergy between live events. And definitely the sports events is something that is, completely connected with the live events and also with news or the segment of the breaking news. I just want to say that, for example, in our case, sports was something that was game changer regarding the number of our users. And for example, in 2017, in Serbia, we had only 400,000 users. But in the segment when we become the owners of sports rights, today we have in Serbia more than 1.6 million users. So the sports is something that is connected with the real time, with the big screen, with the immediate watching. It's gathering the whole family. It's connected with emotion and with passion, which is usually transfer also to the owner of the sports rights, so it has that positive impact on the streamer or the owner of the sports rights, and also it has a huge advertising elements. The second segment is on-demand content, and that is also for us very important. And in that sense, that segment is building, how can I say, long-term loyalty and long-term habit with our users. In that sense, we develop our own catalog with script content where we have more than 200 titles, films and series. And from the September, we are going to launch a Move platform with TS catalog, with TS media, documentaries, kids content, podcasts, and so on. So there we have sports as a entry point, and after that we are building that loyalty and that specific connection with our users through on-demand content. So everything is very important, and I'm so happy that we had that vision 6 years ago, and now we are seeing that big players as Amazon and Netflix are entering in the segment of live events. So that is the added value which we want to offer to our users, having both sides.
Great. Victoria, we've been talking about the free-to-air versus pay versus streamers, and I suspect the motivation for some entrants into the market of doing live is different to others. Do you want to talk to what you're thinking about why some of the streamers, for instance, the motivation for getting into live, why they're doing this?
Sure. I think, building on what Kenny said, I definitely believe in, the ecosystem at the end of the day is really at the heart. If the content is at the heart, then it's about how you're going to monetize it. So everybody has their own business model. But you've seen, obviously, in recent years, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and so on, breaking into sports, breaking into live events, because this is something that brings them on the global level, a huge surge in, from SVOD perspective in subscriptions, also in advertising revenue for this one-off period. When you have a one-off, which is kind of a stunt, versus having a league, for example, the value is very different to the consumer at the end of the day. But I think you saw when Paramount Plus, I think they had the Super Bowl, they got 3.5 million in the US signing up. For the Netflix Tyson v. Paul, it was around 1.5 million. So they're using it for this, which also has that benefit when they're wanting to show to Wall Street, for example. But this is one of the motivators, but that's on the global level. And I think what's really interesting is that how that's ever going to translate in CEE, it's very, very different, because they have a global view. They're looking at big markets. They're obviously very, very interested in the US. Here, I think it's very much all to play for, and it's really about live, what makes sense from a local point of view, sport obviously being the huge one, but also news, also can be reality, entertainment, and so on, because these are the things that drive an appointment to view. They drive people to come to the service, and then it is about keeping them on with all of the rest of the content when it's about streaming. But what I find, talking with can be telcos, broadcasts, and so on across that, it's ultimately about how they're going to monetize that across the ecosystem and what that means for them, what's the value. And clearly live is really very important in that. And so I think the battle for live will only get more intense because there is so much value in that. And it's not about the distribution, it's really about the value of the live content being at heart.
Yeah, and I did hear a quote from one of the big streamers the other day saying that they reckon they can afford to pay, I think it was almost double the amount in rights that other people were doing, simply because they think they can exploit that content better, with derivative content and other things alongside that. So there's obviously a big challenge there in terms of the traditional pay TV and FTAs versus the streamers.
I mean, they're monetizing it in a totally different ecosystem. So for them, that would be, for example, a sunk marketing cost. But then at the end of the day, can they really localize it for CEE? I mean, that's probably they can't really deliver. They won't have the right rights that are relevant. And this is, from a sports perspective, this is what really matters.
Yes, and from the sports perspective, also that kind of localization, how can I say, it's very important. The big streamers can have that global rights, but when it comes to the regional sports, that is also that Telekom Serbia is completely aware of that kind of advantage. So we are also investing in that regional sport, in regional competitions as ABA League, as national competitions, and also through our, for example, a new project with the pixeled cameras, where we place it in almost every single sports arena, school sport and youth sports arena across the Serbia, because through that local sport we once again wants to offer to our users some added value regarding localization, and not only localization in a sense of the script content, because also that script content series in film in this XU region is something that is our huge value, because at the end, emotion is the thing that create a story. Emotion regarding regional local sport or regarding general sport. That is the reason why sport's so important, because of the emotion, because of the passion. But also when it comes to the scripted content, to know how to create that specific regional or local emotion. So that is our expertise.
Yeah. Alex, so we've talked about free-to-air, pay TV and streamers. Are you seeing, as that market evolves, different demands on you as a provider for those services?
Yes, as I said before, there is more content, so that means that sometimes the broadcasters, they don't, I mean, talking about linear broadcasters, they get the right competition, but they are not able to distribute all the content of that competition. So that's where it comes, the streaming platforms to provide all the games of one match day, for example. They broadcast the main game free to air maybe, and then they use the second screen to distribute all this content. Going back to what you were saying about the streaming rights and the big streamers that are acquiring the rights, what I see also is that sometimes they need to fragment the rights in regions because they are not able to provide this localization of the content, and they partner sometimes with telcos, with local broadcasters to be able to distribute all this content. So, yeah.
Okay. Now, one observation I have with live production customers, if you like, in general, is I say there's three things they're always looking for that I see. One is a lower cost. One is higher production value, and the third is flexibility alongside that. But the production value, upping the production value, enriching content in different ways. What's your experience, Kenechi, on what you're looking to do in terms of content enrichment? Is that as a differentiation? Is that as a what's your take there?
I think that what we've done with some of the assets we've had and how we've managed to optimize that on different platforms is very, very unique. I know we are talking about the different platforms, but there is also the element of for other digital platforms, because when people are watching sports, they are engaging on anything that is possible, especially when you have all those matches. So back to what you said about the objectives of the streamers, because yes, they're putting money into buying new assets, going after the live events, etc. But for us, when you get on one platform with a live event, the objective there is to make sure that it's not only sports that you're watching, because there is to what Aleksandra was saying, there is other great VOD content in there. And then the choices that we've offered for some of our big events, such as 4K, because you were mentioning that not all broadcasters are able to do it, and that's quite true. We actually have a partner in the Baltics, TV3, where we have Eurosport on their platform, and they are able to broadcast up to 30 of our live feeds. However, we have only 2 linear live feeds, 1 and 2. But the technology they have, they're able to deliver to their audience on their OTT platform up to 30, 40 Eurosport live feeds at the same time. So the experience that their subscriber is going to have in engaging with Eurosport is going to be quite different from someone that is watching just the 2 live feeds that we have on linear or all the live feeds that we have on our streaming platform. So to your point, what we're trying to do here is what assets you have, what is the ability, the engagement you're able to bring to the user experience to make that connection, and for them to also continue from that connection to watch other things and to come on your platform or to go to the broadcasters where you deliver such as Telekom Serbia. They also deliver our Eurosport channels as well. So, and it is really about making the best of the content that you have. And in terms of localization, for me, when it comes to sports, yes, there are a lot of local rights that are beyond the global rights. That is football. Everybody has football in common, etc. But there is one thing that we forget: the local heroes. So wherever the local heroes are playing, whatever event you have, they will come in any language, whether you've localized it or not. We are localized, of course, in most of the regions, but they will follow their heroes. They will follow their heroes on social media. They will follow them during a live event. They will follow them on Twitter whenever they're watching something. So how you are able to tie all that in, it's the brand value that you bring for that asset. And that's where the federations make a decision. It's not just, of course, who gets to pay you more gets the rights. But at the same time, you get them wanting broadcasters that are able to give a 360 value to their assets, because that's how you build loyalty. That's how you build the following and the fan base, and also being innovative with the way that you broadcast. So I think that these are the things that we're experimenting with, and it's working and having different elements with the viewers across different territories. So, and ultimately, it's still about monetizing your rights in the smartest way possible.
Yeah. And in terms of live for this region, what kind of sports and live events are really dominant? What stuff really, the local stuff really actually is getting traction?
Well, the latest rights we got was the European League, that is the basketball, and that was very important for us, and the only league that missing in our rich portfolio when it comes to the sports rights. Definitely the football is something that it's very attractive for this region. But regarding your question of the level of the production of live events, it is also very important for live sports events that goes forward in a production level, to have more cameras from different angles, to have a very famous commentators, to add that, how can I say, betting solutions in real-time watching and so on and so on. So there is a lot of space also to make it those kind of events and those kind of sports events more engaging than they were before. So that is also the segment that we are planning to improve in the next period through our own TV channels, Arena Sport, where we have almost 50 Arena channel sports with localization not only in Serbia but in Croatia, in North Macedonia, and so on. So definitely that is the segment that we are going to develop more and more.
And the personalization / interactivity, any specific initiatives anyone wants to talk about in terms of the upping the value from the personalization side?
I mean, we have seen that in some sports like that traditionally were difficult to get the content out, like big cycling tours, Tour de France, Giro. Nowadays, there are broadcasters that are looking to get all the cameras, all the motorbike cameras. So at the end, they can follow the local rider or the one that they think it has more attention. And basically, that combined with remote production, they can enable a different point of view of the international signal, right? And we see this in cycling. We have seen this in football. I mean, many sports. Nowadays, the ISO cameras are available for broadcasters.
Yeah, I think that's the real benefit of streaming. So when you talk about, obviously it's an ecosystem, but why, in a sense, it's important to even disrupt yourself, which can be very difficult for companies to do when they're very well established in their business model and it still works at the moment. But if streaming gives you far greater personalization, it's the multi-feeds, if you look even at someone like DAZN, who's got the ambition for all of the merchandising, the ticketing, you've got the stats, you've got the instant highlights, all of this happening in a streaming ecosystem. So you can actually deliver a much higher value product to the consumer that the consumer can't demand because they don't even know what's possible. So it's also the industry, and in this region, it's the job to push the boundaries and deliver that before it's being fully demanded, so that you can be at the, ahead of the curve and, let's say, really leading that transformation in the region. But for sure, streaming gives, so many more opportunities to personalize and enhance that experience. So it's really about having a far superior experience for the user, and showing them what's possible. And they love that.
And adding a bit more on that, on the streaming side, of course, we have changed the way we consume TV, right? We are not all the time on our sofa in front of telly, and we are in the move, just looking at our smartphone and following Roland Garros. So, I mean, I had the same.
Multitasking and or multitasking on our viewing experiences. So yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I think there's been a perceived significant threat of the big global streamers basically subsuming the market and really basically pulling the rug from under more local or regional providers. It's also worth observing, I think, from the last year or so, that the first steps that some of those, or certainly one of those global streamers has made into live wasn't a resounding success initially. Has that put people off doing that, or do we think that trend of the global streamers trying to dominate the market is actually going to happen?
I don't think it's put people off. There is everything is learning and innovation, right? But I think for some of them is a big learning because probably they thought things were easy. Basically, what you guys do,
Yeah.
not so easy to put a live event and have people follow it with no glitches, with no delays. Of course, you have the latency between IPTV and cable. That's the tradition. Everybody knows that. But it's really different because when people get on that platform, they want to watch live. They don't want any disruption. So I don't think it has put people off, especially if they come back and do it right. For us as a global streamer, we've made several decisions of what we do with Eurosport. So HBO Max currently, we have in this region, you can buy sports as an add-on. So you have the first tiers where it's all about on demand, the movies, the series, etc. And then you can make a decision to buy sports as an add-on. While in other territories such as the US, you have sports embedded in your standard tiers. So it's really walking through this experiment, what works, and more people buying it, and more people enjoying it. When we took a lot of data when we had Olympics and we put it on the streaming platform. People ignored a lot, and people were buying. We had a lot of subscription, and that puts the pressure to get it right each time because you've now set a standard for them. And broadcasting sports live on a streaming platform in real time is quite challenging. But if you get it right, there is a lot of value in that. Then it now goes to what are the assets that you have to appeal to this audience. So yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity for that, and looking to see what the future brings. And of course, the ultimate thing is that a subscriber has to see the value and they have to pay for it. The numbers you started with 60 billion global value, it's not going to monetize itself.
Yeah. And I think, we were discussing before that, for example, Netflix, they're taking, let's say, low stakes live content to test and learn with Tyson v. Paul, for example, before they'll do it on the NFL. Because that's what really matters. Who wins, who loses, that really matters. But that was just showmanship. Okay, so this is, also I think it's absolutely a sign of the value that they see in live and the fact that, the global tech, they need to move into it. They've gone, strong into on-demand in premium content. Now they need to move into sport. What will be next? Maybe they're going to be moving into news. Who knows? But I think that they're also quite mature, some of them, so they have to disrupt themselves in a way. They have to look for the new growth, the new customer bases, and as we discussed with sports, it's huge. It's really about fandom, and it's a very must-have, which brings a lot of value to them. But it's also about the fact it's the appointment to view. It's that's something that they can really tap into. So I think that they've just been dipping their toe in the water, and then you can see more. We will see more from them, definitely. But one of the biggest challenges from the sports side that they're going to face is, of course, you can probably get pan-regional or global rights for a sport that's not particularly in demand on a global level. But, they're not going to be able to, well, unless they put up an incredibly crazy amount of money, get the Premier League on the global level, for example, or, Champions League or something like this. And that's not going to be in the interest of the leagues. So this is where for them it's going to be, they won't be able to have this global one-size-fits-all approach, the way that DAZN might like to have, for example. They can do it with the Club World Cup, because that's, let's say, a newer format. But would they be able to do that with the World Cup? This is going to be the big challenge for the tech if they want to have a homogenized product globally.
Very fair point, because we tend to forget about the right holders. They're going to take advantage of, I would do the same for initiatives, I used to do that. They're going to take advantage of the value of live sports, and they're going to play with everybody, from the streamers to the pay TV providers to the digital platforms. And they are not going to shut down any monetization part anytime soon, except if, to Victoria's point, the numbers are so huge, they can retire and come back after a 10-year deal. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out, because I do think that there is value across all platforms. Whatever we are looking at from a global perspective, what are the numbers, what are doing? The baseline for each and every platform is the subscribers. Okay? And to some point, yes, you can dictate what they're going to do, where they're going to watch in terms of experiences. But if they are still making choices to be on certain platform for what works for them, taking that away, that's the kind of disruption you don't want, because that's like, kicking off another audience. But at the same time, you just have to find a way to mix and mash all of them to you actually filter out whether there is one strategy at this point for this territory. Perhaps the US is already there. Europe is a different ballgame. It actually costs you a lot more money to get sports on a pay TV in the US than on a streamer. So it's, we look at the global numbers, and then we now filter it down and break it down territory by territory. And that's why that ecosystem continues to be very, very valid for what territories you're talking about, and to what point are you going to have a global strategy that you can deliver on, or you are going to put a pause on it till the market comes along or you play a role. But the rights holders are going to be very critical in how things develop over the next couple of years.
Yes, and just regarding the media ecosystem and regarding the subscribers, that is the advantage of telcos, because we have our own infrastructure and because we have the direct contact with our users, and we are offering them not only the multimedia content but also the different services, So we are some kind of a one-stop shop, and that is our intention, that through us they can approach to the best content, live content, and on-demand content, and of course to offer them some other services as internet and so on and so on. But definitely that having that direct contact with them is something which is meaningful for us, and especially having our own infrastructure, of course.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
Because you were saying before that these big streamers that are after the sports rights, what do you think they are looking for? I mean, are they looking for new subscribers that will pay for this additional content, or they are only enhancing what they already have, like drama and...
I think it depends on where they are in their journey. So for someone like Netflix, I think they're definitely looking for new subscribers because they're pushed for growth. That's why they stopped reporting subscribers. So I think it's a lot about that. And eventually, maybe they're going to create tiers and so on, and it'll become more like a pay TV package of the add-ons for sports and all of that. They're probably going to follow that playbook. Somebody like Apple, I think they're doing it just to start building up the scale and the base. Amazon as well, I think, they obviously have a different ecosystem, but they're not in a space where they need to start showing their growth in Prime. It's more about taking greater market share and just kind of using that as part of their strategy. But they have even pulled back in some markets and not reacquired the rights like ATP in UK, for example. So they're not 110% committed to that, I wouldn't say. But I think it's really a combination of, it depends where the level of maturity that they have as to what their objective is. And that's why I think with someone like Netflix, you could even see them moving into news or more even general entertainment, not in this region, but because they need to start pushing it in this way, because they've creamed the top of the premium subscribers in the US. Then they need to start for the sports fans. Then they've gone for the lower tier with the ad supported and so on. So I think it's for them. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I think everyone is trying to pivot, because if it's sports live, but if live sports that you're going into your main objective, if they're coming in for something that you've had this and they've not come, and if they're coming for sports, your objective is that when they come, they stay. And that is what the objective of most streamers are. Amazon, of course, they are selling, you've got the sports, but that's not their core business. That's why they're so deep-pocketed, and they will experiment with anything that gets you to buy something else from them. And then you talk about other streamers that the content is their bread and butter. They are hoping that every investment they make, if it's about moving their sports from different tiers or put it in there, they hope that that sports fan comes in, they watch something else, you sell them some match as well. They find out with the data whether they are low-cost subscribers, and you experiment on the ad tier, how you can monetize, because you don't want to put, no one wants really to put their most valuable assets on an ad tier, but you're going to experiment in that. So I think that is the data that streaming brings for how you're going to mine that data and use that to develop what's your next level of monetizing and going after subscribers and user experience and deciding where you're going to window and your business model is very critical. And that's the advantage that I think that live is bringing to existing streamers.
Cool. Thank you very much. So what I'd like to do as we come into land is I like to ask each of you to give just a couple of minutes on what excites you in the future potential of this live media industry. So I'm going to start at the far end, then work our way here. So Victoria, what one thing that excites you about the potential of the future of this industry from your perspective?
From the live perspective, I think it's starting to see more live rights move into streaming, let's say, and that you're going to have a far enhanced user experience. And that will be sports, of course, but I think it will be those other genres that I talked about, like news. It can be reality shows and so on. And I think that this is going to be a huge thing that I'm excited about. What AI can also do for that as well in terms of enhancing the experience is really interesting. And I think specifically about CEE, what I'm really excited about is the fact that I don't see the global players as being the ones who are coming in to dominate. And when I say global, that's where I mean the big tech, not somebody like Warner Bros. Discovery, where they're global and local, or Disney global and local. And I think what's really interesting is it's all to play for, right? So it's about having the right strategy, the right leadership, the right people to drive it in the right direction. But I think that this kind of transformation of where the industry is going in this region is in the hands of the local players. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you for that. We spoke a lot about technology, about data, about infrastructure and so on, but I really think that foundation of our story is the magic and the power of story, and the magic of the power of the content. So what kind of a content we are going to produce all together, and the second step is how we are going to distribute that content. But, especially when it comes to the script content, I'm very interested in that segment. What is going to be, dominant genre and dominant emotion in the next period. So making a content.
Wonderful.
I think for me, it's I'm not cynical about this, but it's all looking like streaming. Pay TV is going to play out on streaming, because you're going to have live events in sports was what was missing from all the on demand. Okay, and now it's coming back here, and you have a full circle of pay TV on a streaming platform. That's really what it's looking like. But the second part of it is also about the partnerships. Because it's always nice and sexy to think that, when we hear that a partner to paid a certain value to have all those rights on their platform, my God. But I just think that partnerships are very critical because at the end of the day, the streamers are global. They are going to be experts on certain markets. They're not going to be experts in certain markets. So that partnership with different players and how you play with your platform and not locking yourself into one environment, but experimenting and ultimately the user experience being the goal. There is a lot to be had there. But the first part of it is how streaming is starting to look like an on the move pay TV because everything is now there. Sports was the last man standing, and it's finally in there. So I'm really excited about that.
That's great. Alex.
For me, let me give it a bit more of an engineering point of view.
Okay, we're going tech again.
But very briefly, so technology is an enabler of new ways of working, right? As I said, there is more content available. There are new workflows, including cloud, remote production. Nowadays, you don't need a gallery to produce a game or a show. So yeah, in the next years, it's going to be very interesting where all this will bring us, because it's opening a lot of new possibilities of enhancing the content finally. That obviously the content is what has the value, not the technology.
Great, thank you. Well, panelists, thank you for your time. If anyone fancies a decent cup of tea and conversation, you can speak to Aleksandra or Kenechi or me. If you fancy a decent coffee and conversation, go to Victoria and Alex, and any of us would probably like to have some ice cream. So, can you join me in thanking this fantastic panel for all of their insights this morning?